piece. Right about this time last year, they were in the middle of losing 18 consecutive games. We all knew this was going to be a good team. Did we expect they'd be this good?
I don't think anybody could have expected this kind of start, but it really speaks volumes about what Kevin Garnett really brings to the table. He didn't just come in and bring a guy, 18 points, 9 boards, wherever his numbers are. He changed the entire culture of that locker room and that organization and made them instantly think and believe that they were winners. Not just with his play on the court, but with his leadership and, most importantly, his ability to communicate on the defensive end of the floor and to be a leader and a captain and a director out there for some of these younger players and even the veteran guys. And you got to give a lot of credit to Paul Pierce and Ray Allen as well, because they've taken lesser roles than they've had other times in their career. But to me, this really is all about Kevin Garnett and what he has brought from a winning attitude to this team and turn them around.
You're right. You're right on it with the leadership part. For me, too, I think you got to go back to Doc Rivers and give this guy a tremendous amount of credit, because no matter how much talent you have to be able to get that talent to really work together. And I think he did about as great a job of anybody I've ever seen as a coach in the preseason of really defining and developing an identity for how this team was going to play. And obviously he's got great leadership on the court, but ultimately it's about the execution of the proper game plan. And I think he's given this team just that. This is a team that gets after it defensively first and foremost. They share the basketball. They really are what the Celtics are renowned for in terms of how they play the game of basketball. You look at all those great Celtics teams, they had a couple traits in common. They were always unselfish and they were always great defensively, and that's exactly what this team exemplifies, and it's one reason why they're going to have a legit chance to come out of the Eastern Conference.
I heard somebody ask Doc Rivers what change he made as a coach. He didn't make too many changes. It was the personnel that made the big change right there. All right, we want to bring in Jalen Rose and Matt Weiner for more on this. Kevin Garnett playing for the, or not playing rather, for the second consecutive game.
Well, anytime you're missing a guy like Kevin Garnett, obviously that's big for your lineup, but you probably want to try to do that during the season when he's playing 35 minutes a game and when you have a back-to-back with the Miami Heat. You see they still getting it done without KG, without Glenn Davis, and also without Ray Allen. But also at the end of the Minnesota game, I saw something very interesting. I saw Garnett play a tremendous defense on the ball. KG, something's wrong with your abs, young fella. Hold on, you're about to miss the next couple of games. Hold on now. That doesn't look like a guy that's totally worried about his abs at that point. Resting KG, getting ready for the long haul. Doc Rivers resting his guys, understanding they all play over 35 minutes to big three. Pierce playing 38, Allen playing 38. Rest Garnett as much as you can when your team is basically run away with the Eastern Conference along with the Detroit Pistons.
All right, Jalen, thanks a lot. Stick around. When we come back, we do have some finals to toss in on you as we continue on Coast to Coast.
I saw this in the window and thought it was so old.
Come back to NBA Coast to Coast.
Hi everyone, back on Coast to Coast with Jalen Rose. I'm Matt Weiner. A couple of games already in the books amongst the 9 being played tonight, including the Detroit Pistons on the road in Indiana. They had won 2 straight. Mike Dunleavy's team trying to stop their own 3-game losing streak. Dunleavy had himself a pretty good night.
Mike Dunleavy's having a tremendous season.
Pulls up in transition, knocks down the 3. Why go all the way to the rim when you can just shoot it from there? Troy Murphy to Dunleavy, cutting. Dunleavy to Granger this time.
Moving, cutting without the ball. The only problem in this game is only the second quarter.
From the eye in Conseco Fieldhouse, he knocks down the 3. He had 25 to go with 7 and 7. Rasheed Wallace got it going. Fade away in the lane. Pistons up 2 at the break. Third quarter, Antonio McDyess, look at Sheed diving to the rim, cutting for the dunk.
He's turning back the hands of time with that 2-hand dunk. Definitely going to be needing ice on the knees after that.
And when Rip Hamilton can't connect, there's Sheed for the stick back. He can do it inside, and you know, he likes to do it from outside. Locked and loaded. He had 24. Pistons up by 5. Later in the fourth, Pistons down 4. Dunleavy with the steal. Travis Diener waiting for the contact from Tayshaun Prince. Had a Reggie Miller moment there for a second. Hit it anyway.
He sure did. He was making sure that Tayshaun wasn't going to block that shot.
Then Diener on the attempted 3. Watch it again, and look who's there. It's Rasheed Wallace. So long, closing out on the shooter. Got a piece of it. Protected the lead, and the Pistons win 110-104.
That's pretty good for your center at the 3-point line at the end of the game, blocking the game-winning, tying opportunity.
Their 3rd straight win, and Detroit is now 20-0 when they go over 100 points. So the Pistons have it going again. How about the Toronto Raptors on the road tonight in Washington? Very good game. Caron Butler sat this one out. Sore hip flexor. Antonio Daniels, big shot. Put the Wizards up 3 inside a minute to go here. 30 seconds. Raptors going to try to answer on the other end. Monster evening from Chris Bosh.
For all those that don't know, Chris Bosh is the second best player in the Eastern Conference.
Bosh pulls up there. Toronto up 42-34. He had 37. In the third, Andre Blatch. Then Blatch from outside knocks down the 3-ball.
The young man getting the opportunity to play, knocking down shots from the three-point line.
Things got very, very good in the fourth quarter. Daniels pulls up. Washington with a 3-point lead. Jamario Moon a chance to tie it. Gives him 1 point shy. Raptors down 3, 1.2 seconds left. Need a play.
Parker. No! It's not possible! But he did it! It is not possible, but he did it again!
Jalen from the category of you never know. He had just 8 points. Parker was 3 of 16 on the night, and you got that to go?
That's a big-time shot. Now we go overtime.
In the overtime. Bounce, bounce. Oh, look, it falls. For Roger Mason Jr., 101-98. Wizards launching from outside. 10 of 30 from three-point land.
Washington's having a tremendous season. Look at those numbers by Antoine Jamison.
Wizards plus 13 on the boards in this game, and they've won 5 straight at home. Again, no Caron Butler in this game. Antoine Jamison filled in nicely. 24 points, 20 boards for him. His third career 2020 game, and this Wizard team is now 21-14 without Gilbert Arenas.
Really getting it done. A very exciting team to watch. They're having multiple guys, have multiple efforts. You see Blanche knocking down shots and plays. You see Roger Mason Jr. contributing. See Antonio Daniels make a big shot towards the end of the game. And they're a fun team to watch. Their style of play has been in since Eddie Jordan got there, and they still implement it, and they're getting it done.
They're fun and competitive right now, sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference. We'll be back with highlights as they develop throughout the evening. Right now, back over to Chris Broussard.
Thanks, Matt.
9 Eastern.
Back on Coast to Coast, the Celtics minus Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. KG still dealing with that abdominal strain. Allen had the flu. Rajon Rondo made the game and the bucket and kept on making buckets. Rondo driving, then feeds Leon Poe at a career night. Poe had 14 in the first half.
The Boston Celtics doing a tremendous job playing without 2 of their big 3. Rondo breaking down the defense, making other guys better.
He had 15 in the first half, averages 9 a game. Celtics up 31-14. They had a 15-0 run in the first quarter, and then basically game over at that point. James Posey, the steal. Tony Allen throwing down. Boston up by 21. Eddie House.
A house is not a home. Probably has one of the quickest releases in the NBA.
You want to try that again? Singing?
Love is a house.
Rondo matched his career high with 23, and then he sat out the entire fourth quarter. That summarizes the game. Poe finished with career highs in points and rebounds, 25 and 11. Celtics walk out of Miami with their biggest win ever against the Heat. Now, there's not much else to say about this game. Miami's not very good. They shot about 36%. Looking ahead now, Celtics go back to Boston where they will face the Dallas Mavericks on Thursday in one of those potential statement measuring stick kind of games. What do you look for there?
Big time challenge. You talk about the Dallas Mavericks, who have been a perennial in the Western Conference, one of the top teams in the NBA, who realized that they want to play for the marathon of the entire season through the playoffs, not the sprint of just having the best record through the regular season. Look for that to be a big-time game for the Boston Celtics, who struggled their last 10 games, but ultimately watch for Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett to be back into the lineup when they play against a team like that. They figured they could rest them against the Miami Heat.
Is that direct from the trainer, or that's just your intuition?
Direct from the trainer. I saw Kevin Garnett at the end of the Minnesota game. That didn't look like a guy that if it was a big-time Game 7, he would miss it.
You mean when he was doing this?
He was telling everybody, I got the #1 jersey in the NBA. Go buy this one.
Because I can tell you, that's not that strenuous.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
All right. Celtics maybe could use a backup point guard. That's the conventional wisdom. And Damon Stoudemire, just so happens, is now available after a buyout with Memphis. Mark Stein on where Stoudemire could wind up.
Best first half performances.
This was the easiest one for me. I've got to say the New Orleans Hornets. I mean, I could never have imagined this team being at the top of the West as we approach the All-Star game. And individually, some of the best performances we've seen with Chris Paul and Tyson Chandler, David West, and the coaching job as well.
You're right. I actually thought it was probably the hardest. And I had to go with the Portland Trailblazers. Your #1 pick and the guy who's probably going to be a dominant center out. You start off 5-12, but LaMarcus Aldridge and Brandon Roy and Travis Outlaw are young nucleus. They've learned how to win, and they're playing great.
I'm going with the team that's 35-8. Have the best field goal percentage defense in the league. Have us talking about the Boston Celtics like they've already won a championship. I'm taking the Celtics.
All right, time now to move on to coaching. Who's done the best job of setting their men up in the first half?
This was the toughest one for me. I've got to go with Eddie Jordan down in Washington. It's not like the cupboard was bare when Gilbert Arenas left, but when you lose a guy of that caliber that's a 30-point scorer, you've got to retool everything that you do offensively, and he has really gotten the most out of this team, and their improvement defensively, large part due to coaching.
Well, for me, I'm going to go with Doc Rivers, and I think it started with the job he did in the preseason, really developing and defining who they were going to be, how they were going to play. He's remained consistent. That's why this team right now has a great chance to come out of the East and compete for a title.
And I'm taking Byron Scott. As I've watched the New Jersey Nets lose 9 straight games, what would they be with this guy? And all of the players that we talk about for the Hornets have improved under his tutelage. West, Chandler, those guys have improved. Chris Paul. I'm taking Byron Scott.
All right, first half breakthrough. Who's a player who's stepped up more than you expected?
Let's go out to Portland and say Brandon Roy. I mean, to go from Rookie of the Year now to a guy that's a legitimate star, because this guy has taken over a team with just 5 guys under 24 years old that are playing together as that main nucleus, and has become the leader, the go-to guy, the facilitator, everything you want. He's a winner.
Well, I'm going to go with the breakout guy, literally and figuratively. And I'm going to say Andrew Bynum. Let's face it, I don't think anybody expected this young man to have the kind of impact that he's had. Double-double, 60% field goal percentage. You can feel the absence now, having lost 3 in a row for the Lakers. He is needed on the interior.
And I'm taking Caron Butler. He went from being the man next to the man to being the man. Turned into a go-to guy this season for the Washington Wizards and really getting it done, especially in clutch situations on a nightly basis for that team.
And generally, we're not negative here on Coast to Coast, but
Really?
occasionally we have to go that way. Worst performance.
Interesting how we've all had 9 different answers to this point. Let's see how we do on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Miami Heat. I'm just going to put it out there, out on a limb. And when you take a team that's been a title contender for the last 4 seasons, and now they drop off the face of the earth, they're not even a relevant discussion in the East anymore, and your best player, your prime all-star, is still out there, that's the biggest disappointment.
Well, you know, I got to go with the ping pong balls myself. I got to keep it with the Miami Heat. Let's face it, just over a year removed from winning that World Championship. Right now, I think probably the most embarrassing professional team we have in sport in America.
Whoa!
Well, one of the best things my mom taught me growing up is misery loves company. And now the Miami Heat have it, because we 3 for 3 on this one, gentlemen. Anytime you have Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal on your roster, this is not something that we saw coming at all.
Jalen, I hope when your mom was telling you that, she wasn't talking about herself being miserable with your company, I hope. It's not. All right, that's the first half. As we continue on Coast to Coast, we will continue with more in a moment. Jason Kidd, we will hear from the man himself, the man who told the man to get him traded from the man.
NBA Coast to Coast, brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. And State Farm. Great service, great rates. It's all here. Nobody takes care of you like State Farm.
Who's hot and who's not? Al Jefferson averaging nearly 30 and 13 in his last 4 games. Zydrunas Ilgauskas, who Tim put on the Eastern Conference All-Star team, is averaging 20 points and shooting better than 60% in the last week. Who's not? Ricky Davis carrying the not hot mantle for the Heat. 4 points per game, under 25% shooting in his last 5. Eddie Jones' shooting touch has also left him as of late as well. Tonight's leaders, Chris Bosh, who will be in New Orleans for the All-Star game.
A lot of W's over there, but Chris Bosh took an L.
Chris Bosh takes the L with the top in points, rebounds. Antoine Jamison continues to do things for Washington. Right now, let's rejoin Matt and Jalen.
All right, John, as we touched on at the top of the show, way back when, Chris Webber is a Warrior. He signed on with the team for the rest of the season. Tonight's game for the Warriors in Houston illustrated just why they wanted a big man on the roster, because that guy killed them tonight in Houston.
There are a lot of people that question Yao Ming's toughness and whether he could be a go-to guy in this league. Where are they now?
Al Harrington tries to front him. How'd that go? Not all that well.
Not all that well. You got to find a way to make multiple efforts against a player like Yao Ming down low.
Houston up by 14 at the break, but you know, when Golden State is on the floor, things can change very quickly. Monte Ellis took it right to Yao. Steven Jackson drives, hits Andres Biedrins. Rockets up by 9. Shane Battier strips Ellis. Rafer Alston going to find Battier over in the corner, launching. And the Rockets' lead is back up to 12. Here come the Warriors again. Harrington, long 2. Warriors down 1. Next possession, Baron Davis will give Golden State its first lead of the entire game with 2:10 to go. Under 90 seconds left, Rockets up 1. Yao in the lane, turn, face, knocked down. 36 and 19 for him, and this is what you got to love about Yao Ming. He's turning out to be one of the great free throw shooting big men really of all time. 14 of 15 in this game. He shoots 85% for the year.
The most polished center in the league. Definitely does it with post moves, does it with skill, does it with power. Yao Ming is getting it done big time.
Rockets threatening in the Western Conference playoff picture. They've won 10 of their last 12. Suns and Hawks, really mostly the Suns. Grant Hill returning from back spasms. He played tonight. Anthony Johnson inside. Amari Stoudemire talked to the hand. Down 13 already, the Hawks. Marvin Williams. Zaza Pachulia.
Well,
offensive rebounder, but no. Joe Johnson.
What had happened was
Pachulia.
Johnson had happened was.
Oh my goodness. Zaza Pachulia after 7 misses. Got to give him credit for sticking to it.
Persistence pays.
Steve Nash, pick and roll, Stoudemire. He be jamming.
Steve Nash loves to throw it to the roll guy on pick and rolls. You got to defend that when you play against the Phoenix Suns.
According to our panel, Amari Stoudemire is headed to the All-Star game as a reserve. Hard to question that. Al Horford certainly will not argue. Suns by 24 after 3. The final tally. Wow. They win by 35. This is a Hawks team that beat Phoenix this year. Payback. You know what they say about payback.
Well, maybe the Hawks were distracted by media day for the Super Bowl.
Do you think really? You think the throng of media hit the Hawks locker room pregame? Here are the finals from the night. Washington and Toronto played a good one. Wizards win again. Detroit won on the road. Jersey finally ended the 9-game losing streak. Jason Kidd had 11 assists in that game. We just showed you what Houston did, and Boston all over Miami. Chicago gets a win. They're knocking on the door in the Eastern Conference playoffs. San Antonio and Seattle have begun the third quarter. Phoenix by a million. And the Lakers and the Knicks are in the second quarter now. Lakers up by 5. Final thoughts before we head back to John and the guys?
Well, I'm happy that Chris Webber's going to get a chance to be contributing for the Golden State Warriors. I think when you look at tonight's game, it showed how they had Al Harrington, a 6'8" guy, ultimately guarding Yao Ming with no help. Chris Webber's the kind of guy that's going to play 15 feet away from the basket, and Yao have to come away from the basket to honor his jump shot and his passing ability.
Granted, the Warriors will not face a 7-5 opponent most nights, but...
And Yao Ming's getting it done. He had a lot of dollars coming into the league, and those are big-time numbers he's putting up.
Houston could be a factor in the Western Conference playoffs as well. All right, guys, I think that's it for us.
Well, maybe Jalen Rose will come out of retirement, too, now that his buddy Chris Webber from Detroit is back. All right, it's time for our poll.